Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 different ways that you can get social media marketing clients of your own. So I actually did a full episode of my podcast, the Freelance Friday podcast, about every single way that I've ever received a client or ever earned a client. So I will link that down below as well, because I go into some other ways that I have gotten clients in the past. But in today's episode, or today's video rather, what I wanted to do was share the 5 kind of biggest ways or most common ways for me to actually get clients. So let's hop in. Okay, so the first way that I get social media management clients is through content marketing. Content marketing can mean a bunch of different things. For me personally, it is YouTube. That is where I put the most of my content marketing energy into. But for other people, it might be blogging, ranking for certain terms through a blog or, website SEO and things like that can really help so that you are the first person that pops up when somebody types in how to develop a social media marketing strategy. For example, your video or your blog post or your website is going to pop up. So I recommend leaning into your strengths for this. For me personally, I knew how to do video. It's something I studied in school. It is something that I'm pretty comfortable on camera. So I decided to do video. But for other people, you might be a super strong writer. Maybe you're really good at interviewing people and you have a podcast. Like, there's lots of different things that you can do as far as content marketing. My YouTube channel is not aimed at social media marketing clients. It's aimed at you guys. It's aimed at my peers or people who maybe would hire me to be their mentor, their coach, or somebody who would take my courses. They're not so much aimed at like a brick and mortar business or a tech startup or a personal brand or somebody who would actually be hiring me to manage their social media accounts. And that's one of the reasons I always tell you guys, don't just copy what other people are doing necessarily, because my target audience and why I'm strategically using YouTube might be different from you. So if I were to do this all over again, if I were to start a YouTube channel with the goal of getting social media clients, I wouldn't be posting the kinds of videos that I'm posting. I would be posting videos like why you need a social media strategy for your business, or how to, create a Twitter list, or like very entry-level 101 type social media tips that prospective clients would be searching for, that they would have questions about. So that's my recommendation for that. Now, I got one of my first non-Upwork clients through YouTube because I reviewed one of their competitors. They were an influencer marketing startup. And so there are definitely ways that my videos still do get me clients. And also I think a lot of my clients will find me and they'll be like, oh, she's obviously very passionate about her career, or she knows what she's talking about, so they want to hire me. But yes, it's primarily aimed at a different audience, actually. Okay, the second way is through LinkedIn. I have talked about LinkedIn a lot over this past year, and you guys, I think it's a really good place to be for freelancers, really for any type of professional. I've been on LinkedIn pretty much since it was a thing, like since I heard about it years and years ago, but I've really gotten more and more into it whenever I went freelance, full-time freelance with my business, and over this past year in particular. So I'm not gonna dwell too much on this because I have several videos about LinkedIn out there on the interwebs. I have, I think, 2 on this channel, and then I also did a whole series for my friend Ron Segal's channel Flux. So I'm gonna link that down below as well. And yeah, basically you can use the jobs search function and type in freelance or type in remote and see what comes up. But more importantly, I think, because that's like low-hanging fruit, I guess that's something that you can definitely do. I'm pretty sure you can set up job alerts on there as well. But something that is a bit more long-term and more strategic is just developing a content marketing strategy on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn typically was pretty boring, pretty bland, very corporate, there aren't a ton of people posting really informative, awesome videos on there or really cool photos on there. So when you do that, you really stand out. And that's something that, is really helpful, because people who are on LinkedIn tend to be decision makers. They tend to be business people, And it's funny because I always ask, well, where are you putting most of your energy into as far as social media and content marketing? And almost everybody is on Instagram. Don't get me wrong, for some businesses and some industries, that absolutely makes sense. But so few people tend to say that they're putting most of their eggs in the LinkedIn basket, yet LinkedIn is where all of the decision makers are and all the people with the money and with the answers, right? I try to go where people aren't, right? If you can take up a space that is not so saturated and you become the go-to person or you become one of few on a platform, your chances are just gonna be a lot higher. So take a look. Figure out, is Instagram really where you should be putting all of your effort? For some of us it is, for some of us it isn't. If you're in the beauty fashion space, absolutely. Like you need to be on Instagram. But if you're in professional and technical services, B2B, any type of B2B marketing, B2B business, you should be on LinkedIn. All right, the next one is a little bit controversial, I think, and that is Upwork. You guys, people get mad at me when I talk about Upwork, but like at the same time, I have to be true to myself. And my first freelance gig ever was on Upwork. Now, this was many years ago. It was called something different. It was called Elance back in the day, but I can't lie to you guys and pretend like Upwork has not helped me before. And in fact, I still have a client on Upwork. Like I still have a profile on Upwork. Now, it's not the majority of my business. It is not, my only strategy, as you can see here, but it is something that I do keep up to date with. I check in with every once in a while, check my invitations, check my messages on there and see if anything interesting pops up. I've had like 2 really interesting projects pop up through Upwork over the past year. And interesting long term. And then I've had other like small, fun little gigs here and there as well. So I always think it's good just to have a profile built up and ready to go if you need to apply for jobs or if you want to. Like I said, that's how I got my first client. And it really is nice because the process is kind of like done for you. You don't have to worry so much about drafting up this contract and figuring out invoicing. It's all sort of done for you on Upwork's platform. So I think it's really nice for beginners. Now, obviously, as you get more comfortable with your own business processes and all that, you're probably going to want to, take on a lot of that yourself. And it's nice when you get non-Upwork clients because of course Upwork isn't taking a percentage and all this stuff. But for beginners, I think it's a really good place to look. And it's also a good way just to see what's out there and to see what types of clients are looking for your services. Because, okay, maybe you see there is a huge demand in the, like skincare startup space on Upwork, which oddly, that actually kind of is a thing for me, at least on Upwork. So I see skincare startups are always looking for social people or content people on Upwork. So now I know, okay, maybe that's an area that I should start looking at on LinkedIn or looking at on, startup websites like Crunchbase and AngelList and things like that, and see if there are any skincare startups that I can reach out to and start to network with on my own, off of Upwork, non-Upwork clients. So I always recommend giving that a go. Okay, next way is through email marketing / lead magnets. So when people come to me and they say, hey, I need to get clients, what do I do? Do you have a lead magnet? Do you have a free gift? That's like one of the first things that I like to ask. Now, this doesn't work for every industry, again, and this doesn't even necessarily work for every freelancer. People have different ways of selling, of course, but having something to give that has value from the outset is really important. It can really help speed things along because think about it, like if somebody's gonna walk into your place of business and ask you if you'll hire them and they're bringing nothing to you, they're just like saying, yeah, like I'm your average electrician or plumber or whatever, how do I know that you're better than the other guys? Or what makes me want to choose you over the other guys? And it's usually that they're going to be giving you some kind of an offer or, I don't know, maybe a referral. But for the purpose of this, let's say that they're bringing an offer, right? Same thing for a social media marketer or freelancer. So I've seen a lot of successful examples of this. I mean, there is the good old social media audit or strategy. Now, I don't personally recommend giving away entire social media strategy because if you're doing these right, which maybe I'll do a video on at a future date, but if you're doing an in-depth social media strategy, that could easily be like a $2,000 sale, if you ask me, if you're doing it properly. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend giving that away for free, but it could be a one-page social media audit, a 30-minute kind of Q&A type call, lots of different things that you can do there. You can also do maybe like an ebook or a freebie, a checklist, a download, a video series, all of those kinds of things. But again, I want you to keep in mind, because I see this all the time and it's hard to get out of, but you have to think of your ideal client. If you are working with that startup beauty brand type niche, right? You're not gonna wanna do an ebook on how to build your social media management business. And it sounds like no duh when I say that, but I see this all the time, right? What you're gonna wanna do is maybe you do a guide, like a photography guide for how to photograph product or something like that looks really good. And the idea is that you're giving them sort of a teaser, you're giving them a little bit of help, but to really get all that stuff together and to make it fully work, the ads to run properly and the hashtags right and the captions right. And, maybe they realize that taking those photos is a lot of work and they do want to outsource it. That's kind of the idea. And then you also get their email address, you get their phone number if you're adding that into your form, and you're able to follow up with them and actually try to sell to them. So I have a couple of different sort of free offers on my agency website. It's just a free call. I use that just because I have built up enough of a reputation online where a lot of times people come to my website and that's enough to kind of be an offer for them. But for my coaching business, I have a little like mini ebook that's always linked down below in my YouTube videos. And it's a social media manager starter kit. So for those of you who maybe are just exploring this field and are looking for a mentor or looking for someone to learn from, this will eventually lead you down the path to hopefully become a mentorship or coaching or course client of mine. All right, and then the last way that I get social media management clients is through networking, speaking, events, things like that, which I know is a little bit hard in kind of this COVID era, but it really isn't. I actually kind of feel like it's a little bit easier to get speaking gigs right now because there are so many things going on online. And, if you're doing an online event, the organizer doesn't need to worry about flying you out anywhere or putting you up in a hotel room, or even really, you're less likely to even ask for compensation, or at least as high of compensation as you would if you had to go on site somewhere. So I think it's a lot easier actually to get some good speaking gigs right now. So a little bit of a silver lining, I guess. The thing with this, again, is think about your ideal clients. I still do some events that are aimed towards social media managers because obviously that is a part of my business now, is the education side, this stuff. But when I'm looking for clients, when I'm looking for retainer clients, people to pay me every month for my services, I am not speaking to other social media managers. I'm speaking at startup events. I'm speaking at, influencer marketing industry events. So I'm around a bunch of people, and usually I'm like one of a few marketers who are there. And again, that's a really good place to be in. You want to go where other people are not. So I don't go to like social media marketing world. Not that I don't think that those things are valuable, because I absolutely do. And I do go to like social media events and conferences locally and stuff, but I invest my big dollars because that conference is pretty expensive. For me personally, it's more worthwhile to invest those bigger dollars into like niche specific events where my clients are going to be at. So if you, let's say, work with people in the beauty industry, go to BeautyCon, go to indie, like there's an indie beauty expo, I think. I used to go to that sometimes when I worked in that industry, go to things like that. If you work with physicians or doctors, go to medical conferences. If you work in the energy industry, like that's your niche, go to energy industry conferences or events. Follow those people on social media. You know what I mean? Like, don't just follow the social media thought leaders, because yes, those can be helpful for, giving you inspiration and stuff for your career, but they're probably not going to get you a job, right? So the other great thing about this kind of way to generate clients is that you can do it yourself. If nobody's invited you on a stage or a virtual stage yet, you can host these yourself. When I first started freelancing full time, I did a webinar every month, I think it was, for a few months. And I just hosted these on YouTube. I did an unlisted YouTube link and put it into my Squarespace website. You don't need to have the webinar jam and all the fancy equipment. Of course, that's nice, and I recommend getting those once you can afford it. But chances are, if you've never had a client yet, or you're working on, building up your client roster, you probably shouldn't be spending extra money that you don't have. So just using an unlisted YouTube video link, embedding it into your website, you can host your own little webinar there. And I did that for a while. I ran a couple of ads to it on LinkedIn. I shared it organically on my social channels, and I just gave away some good stuff and got some people to sign up. And then again, you get their email address, you get their phone number, whatever information you asked from them, so you can follow them, you can follow up with them, you can sell to them through email, etc. Okay, so those are the 5 biggest ways that I get social media management clients. But like I said, I did do a podcast which covers like every way that I ever have, and I go way more in depth on some of these strategies as well. So definitely recommend that you check that out. I'm gonna have it linked down below. If you guys have any questions, leave them down below. If you have any other suggestions or ways that you find that works really well to get clients, please leave them down below as well. I'm sure the community would love to read those. And thumbs up the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you don't want to miss my future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye.